What if the end times were already in motion and the final battle about to begin? This question echoes in the shadows of Patmos, where John, exiled and alone, raises his eyes to a horizon that is no longer tranquil. The sky appears as a living tapestry of red clouds, laden with tension and foreboding, cut by occasional lightning bolts that tear through the darkness with flashes of liquid fire. The sea, far from being a calm mirror, churns as if reflecting the very heart of creation in despair. Gigantic waves break over rocks, throwing up foam that glitters under the incandescent light of the heavens, each splash a promise of imminent conflict. The sound of distant thunder is not merely meteorological, it is the harbinger of trumpets yet to sound, the roar of judgment advancing silently upon the earth. Joam remains atop the rock, the biting wind tugging at his cloak, carrying with it the scent of salt, sulphur, and something undefined, as if the very air were imbued with the presence of the divine and the apocalyptic. His eyes are fixed on the horizon, trying to decipher signs, but nothing is simple. Each lightning bolt reveals only fragments of a larger picture, and each shadow dancing on the waves seems to contain a story of destruction and hope intertwined. He knows that what he witnesses is not just an isolated vision. It is the unfolding of a cosmic narrative that transcends time and space, a tale where the fate of humanity hangs by a delicate thread, suspended between light and darkness. The silence surrounding Joam is dense, almost palpable. There is no birdsong, no rustling of leaves, only the roar of the sea, the whisper of the wind, and the distant crackle of thunder. Each sound amplifies the sense of urgency, as if all of creation were holding its breath, awaiting the first step of the battle. And it is in this silence that he perceives something deeper. It is not merely a war between earthly armies, but a spiritual confrontation, a clash that touches every soul that has ever walked the earth. Every sin, every act of faith, every human choice becomes a thread in the great fabric of the approaching battle, and Joam feels the magnitude of his responsibility as a witness to this outcome. He not only sees the future, he feels the weight of all that is to come. As he watches, dark clouds gather, swirling in eddies reminiscent of abysses poised to swallow the world. But it is not only the darkness that is frightening. Among the clouds, red and gold patches shimmer, like embers from a distant fire that heralds both destruction and revelation. Each lightning bolt illuminates fragments of something indescribable. Silhouettes of devastated mountains, cities in flames, and yet in each flash, glimpses of hope. Temples standing intact, people gazing at the sky in supplication and faith, hands raised in prayer that resist the chaos. John understands that this battle does not only have winners or losers in the human sense, it is a testament to the eternal balance between justice and mercy, between the shadow and the light, that permeate all creation. The sea reflects a surreal palette of colors, intense reds, golds that burn like molten metal, deep blacks that seem to absorb the very light. Waves break with titanic force, each explosion of water against rock, sending splashes that shimmer with the fire dancing in the sky. The wind carries with it echoes of distant voices, like ancient chants or muffled cries, sounds that Joam cannot identify but feels in every fiber of his body, as if the world itself were whispering his destiny. He realizes that the spectacle he witnesses is not random. Every detail, every movement of the sky and the sea is a fragment of a message that time itself writes before his eyes. On the horizon, the line between sky and sea becomes indistinct. Formations resembling armies begin to emerge from the mist, shadows moving with almost supernatural precision, as if each creature were guided by an invisible order. Horses and warriors that seem made of light and smoke, indescribable beasts with horns and wings crisscrossing the lightning, and human figures rising in resistance and faith, all converging on a point that Joam feels is the epicenter of the battle. He realizes that it is not just physical strength, but a tangible spiritual energy, something that reverberates in his soul and in the earth itself, a tension he had never felt before, and that makes his heart beat in sync with the pulse of the universe. As the sky darkens even further, the air becomes dense, heavy, charged with electricity and something almost palpable, the weight of judgment and hope. Each of Joan's breaths is conscious. Each glance seeks to comprehend what cannot yet be fully seen. He feels he is on the verge of a moment that transcends any human narrative, the beginning of a battle that is not only historical, but eternal, cosmic, where the outcome will echo not only on the planet, but in the soul of every being. Fear mingles with reverence, curiosity merges with agony, and the perception of the unknown becomes an irresistible call. And then, amidst the roar of the sea and the incessant crackling of lightning, John notices something singular. Small sparks of light fall from the sky, as if stars were being torn from the firmament to illuminate the path ahead. Each spark reveals fragments of truth, faces of men and women who resist, innocent children, leaders who will decide destinies, and even shadows that writhe, foreshadowing the presence of forces that defy the natural order. He senses that what he is about to witness is not merely a physical battle, but the manifestation of choices, regrets, courage, and betrayal condensed into a single apocalyptic moment. As time seems to slow down, Joan notices that the space around him is changing. The rock he stands on trembles, and the wind, carrying fragments of fire and water, whispers words that are incomprehensible, but which his spirit understands as warning and revelation. Every element of nature participates in the narrative. The sky announces the conflict, the sea reflects the tension, the wind carries the omen, and the clouds become pages of an invisible book, writing the imminence of the final battle. The feeling is that he is being led to a truth that no human being could anticipate, and yet he must witness, understand, and transmit what he sees. And as the first thunderclap explodes above the rock, followed by a lightning bolt that illuminates the entire landscape for an instant, John feels the call. Something is moving, something greater than human imagination itself. He understands that the Battle of Armageddon is not just a story to be told, but an event that breathes, that vibrates, that demands the attention and presence of every soul. Every shadow, every flash, every wave, and every breath of wind is part of a cosmic spectacle that reveals the magnitude of divine justice and mercy. The fear of the unknown is intense, but also fascinating. Joan realizes that this moment is a threshold between worlds, between eras, between the hope that persists and the chaos that threatens to engulf everything. The battle has not yet visibly begun, but he already feels its rhythm, the movement of forces, the tension of spiritual energies, the proximity of a conflict that transcends weapons and armies, that unfolds in dimensions that the human mind only touches in fragments. The sensation is overwhelming, as if every cell in his body were attuned to the vibration of the universe about to manifest. The distant crackling of fire and the aroma of sulfur suggest that the apocalypse has already begun, even if no one else notices. And John, there, in the relative silence of Patmos, is the only one to witness the harbinger of destruction and redemption. He understands that he cannot look away. Every second is vital. Every vision contains instructions, warnings, and revelations. The tension does not diminish. On the contrary, it grows, fueled by the contrast between what is visible and what remains hidden, by the clash between apocalyptic beauty and the agony of the world awaiting its consummation. Thus, John remains, gazing at the blazing horizon, his hair and cloak billowing in the wind, his heart pounding in rhythm with the universe. Each lightning bolt, each wave, each thunderclap is a verse of a cosmic poem describing the imminence of Armageddon. He senses that the world is about to change forever, that the final battle is about to be unleashed, and that what he witnesses is only the first breath of a story that will shake all of creation. If you're feeling the weight of this apocalyptic moment and want to find out how the final battle will unfold, leave your comment below what you think will happen and don't leave here. The continuation of this revealing vision is about to be shown, and you won't want to miss any detail of the Battle of Armageddon that John witnessed. As the last red rays fade on the horizon, John feels the earth tremble beneath his feet, and the sky above begins to crack, revealing impossible shapes, creatures that do not belong to the world we know. The army of celestial forces emerges like a living storm, knights in armor that gleam like flaming stars, wielding lances that seem made of pure light. Their horses gallop over incandescent clouds, and each clatter of hooves echoes like thunder reverberating in the depths of the turbulent sea. Behind them, invisible trumpets sound, and John feels the vibration in every fiber of his body. It is the sound of judgment approaching, of divine order manifesting itself tangibly, as if creation itself were calling all beings to account. On the other side, legions of evil rise from the abyss, shrouded in black smoke, twisted horns, shadowy wings, and incandescent eyes that burn with malice. Immense dragons cut through the air, unleashing flames that transform the horizon into a liquid hell, while indescribable beasts crawl across the waves, threatening to swallow everything in their path. John feels a terror that transcends human comprehension. It is not merely physical fear, but the awareness that evil possesses almost divine intelligence, organization, and cruelty. He realizes that this battle is not just a clash of forces, but a cosmic struggle between eternal principles, the justice of God against the rebellion of chaos, light against the darkness that attempts to engulf creation. Every movement on the battlefield is laden with symbolism. The sea, which once reflected the sky in colors of fire and blood, now seems to have transformed into a living river of blood and spiritual energy, each wave carrying fragments of souls, human choices, and echoes of faith and doubt. Each celestial sword strike provokes explosions of light that tear through the darkness, illuminating for brief seconds the monstrous forms of evil. Each burst of fire from the sky descends like a divine sentence, consuming the rebellious legions, purifying the chaos, and restoring an order that only John can perceive in its entirety. He realizes that judgment is not arbitrary. Every human action, every spark of faith, every seed of rebellion echoes in this conflict, altering the course of the battle in unseen ways. As the celestial knights advance, dragons and beasts writhe and hurl fire upon the waves. John notices that the combat is not linear. Elements of the physical and spiritual worlds intertwine. The wind cuts like blades, dragging embers and echoes of screams. Clouds of black smoke swirl like whirlwinds, concealing and revealing the opposing forces. Imaginary trumpets sound in sync with lightning, each marking a decisive blow. He realizes that this is not a battle to be understood with logic or reason. It is a sensory and spiritual experience that must be felt and witnessed, each fragment of perception revealing the delicate balance between destruction and redemption. In the heart of this chaos, figures emerge that appear human, but emanate an inner light that sets them apart from ordinary legions. They are spiritual leaders, high-ranking angels, knights in armor that reflect not only light, but hidden truths, each carrying symbols that John recognizes from previous visions: trumpets, keys, scrolls, and swords. They command armies with divine precision, guiding each movement with wisdom and intention, ensuring that the battle is just, even in its apocalyptic magnitude. John feels reverence and agony simultaneously, reverence for the celestial order and strength, agony for the inevitable suffering that befalls the earth. Meanwhile, the horsemen of evil do not hesitate. Dragons unleash fire that not only burns but seems to consume the spirit. Beasts hurl themselves upon the seas, transforming water into red vapor that rises like a deadly fog. John sees cities crumble in a matter of seconds, forests ablaze, and evil creatures corrupting the land. But each attack is met with counterattacks of light that not only defend, but purify. He understands that every spark of human faith amplifies celestial power, while every act of despair strengthens the shadows, creating a continuous cycle of energy that propels the battle forward. The sky above opens up in a spectacle of colors and movement. Lightning cuts through clouds that swirl like eddies of black ink, while sparks of gold and silver glitter among them, marking the presence of the divine amidst the chaos. Each flash reveals terrifying details: legions of beings with multiple arms and flaming eyes, knights in cracked armor, wounded beasts that roar in agony and yet continue to fight. Joan feels each flash not only with his eyes, but with his soul, as if he were absorbing the weight of each battle, each act of courage, each act of betrayal. He realizes there are moments of pause within the turmoil, instants when the war seems to breathe, as if creation were adjusting to the intensity of the conflict. In these pauses, John sees glimpses of humanity, people hiding in ruins, leaders fighting with courage or despair, isolated acts of faith that shine like stars in the darkness. Each act of human courage echoes in the battle, as if each small flame could ignite the fate of the world. He feels that the war of Armageddon is not only physical or spiritual, but also moral, each choice echoing in dimensions he is only now beginning to understand. The sound of battle is almost unbearable. Distant trumpets mingle with the roars of dragons, the cries of human and supernatural armies, the rumble of thunder, and the roar of the waves. But within this chaos, John perceives patterns, invisible strategies that reflect divine justice, each attack and defense orchestrated to maintain a delicate balance. He understands that ultimate victory will depend not only on strength, but on the loyalty, courage and faith that each being demonstrates, and that even the smallest human choice can alter the course of battle. As light and shadow clash, the world around them seems to tremble in resonance. Mountains crack, rivers change course, and the air is heavy with electrical and spiritual energy, making each breath a test of endurance. John feels the weight of the responsibility of being a witness. He not only observes, but absorbs every fragment of the conflict, knowing that the message he will carry forward will have to convey the magnitude of what is unfolding. He understands that Armageddon is not merely a historical or prophetic event, but a living, ongoing experience that involves all levels of existence. The final clash between light and darkness seems to be approaching. Lightning converges in beams of pure energy. Dragons and horses collide in explosions of force and fire. Beasts struggle in rivers of lava and transformed water. Each second seems to last an eternity, and John realizes that the fate of all creation is at stake, not only by external forces, but by human choices, faith, and courage. He feels reverence, fear, and agony, but also a strange hope, because even amidst the most absolute chaos, light finds ways to resist and manifest divine power. At the epicenter of the battle, he sees a greater force emerge, figures of concentrated light channeling all divine justice, illuminating the battlefield with pure energy, transforming destruction into just judgment, punishing evil, but allowing redemption. Each blow undone, each act of courage amplified, each shadow confronted by the light is a reminder that Armageddon is not merely devastation, but the ultimate manifestation of the balance between justice, mercy, and the eternal force that sustains the universe. As the turmoil continues, John senses that the battle transcends the visible and tangible. He perceives that each wave of energy, each burst of fire, each war cry carries with it spiritual lessons, teachings that can only be absorbed through deep contemplation. He understands that this is the true essence of the conflict, the demonstration of divine justice in action, revealing that light, even in the face of the most absolute destruction, keeps hope alive, guiding those who have faith to resist despair. As the roar of battle echoes through the skies and the sea writhes under the impact of the clashing forces, John begins to realize that what he witnesses is not merely the confrontation of visible armies. Each blade, each flame, each dragon's roar and each celestial sword strike carries a deeper layer, invisible to mortal eyes, but evident to the perception of his soul. The Battle of Armageddon, John realizes, is not simply physical. It is spiritual, existential, and every human decision reverberates in this cosmic confrontation like ripples on an infinite lake. Every act of faith strengthens the light. Every choice made in darkness strengthens evil. Every thought, every regret, every impulse of courage or weakness is a thread that intertwines with the web of this final war. The sky above is still torn in fissures of fire and shadow, and lightning streaks across the clouds like arrows of revelation. Each flash illuminates hidden secrets, human faces, gestures of mercy, and acts of betrayal, all condensed into moments that John feels as absolute truths. He realizes that the light is not merely an external force, but a consciousness that reacts to the intentions of the human heart. Those who stand firm in faith become points of resistance, beacons in the midst of chaos, while those who succumb to fear or pride fall, consumed by the fire that purifies and destroys simultaneously. Trumpets echo through the abyss, but they are not mere instruments of sound. They awaken consciences, each note vibrating in the soul of those who hear them, revealing truths that the human mind cannot comprehend on its own. John realizes that each trumpet is a call, not only to fight, but to recognize the weight of each choice, the responsibility of each action. Each blast illuminates the need for courage, compassion, and faith, and reveals those who can still align themselves with the light before the final blow of judgment. The fire that descends from the sky is not blind destruction, it is purification. Each wave that turns to blood, each stone that breaks, each shadow consumed by the flash is a manifestation of divine judgment, separating the eternal from the transient, the just from the corrupt. John understands that the battle is, therefore, a lesson in motion. Evil is exposed so that each soul may see its own inclination, and the light manifests the mercy that is still available even in the heart of chaos. Nothing is arbitrary. Everything is a reflection of the choices that humanity has made and continues to make. As the battle intensifies, John observes figures of light moving with supernatural precision. They not only combat the forces of darkness, but act as guides, directing the flow of the conflict according to eternal principles. He understands that divine justice is not an act of gratuitous violence, but an intelligent force seeking to restore balance. Each victory of light is not merely a defeat of evil, but an opportunity for revelation. Those who witness or participate in the battle have the chance to understand the gravity of their actions and align themselves with the divine purpose. In the midst of the chaos, lightning streaks across the sky, like threads connecting the visible and the invisible, revealing hidden patterns. John sees the battle's design as if it were a spiritual map. Each attack, each defense, each human gesture, and each celestial impulse are part of a larger choreography, a plan that transcends time and space. He realizes that the visible destruction is merely a reflection of the invisible purification, and that each element of the battlefield contains lessons about morality, faith, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. As the apocalyptic night deepens, John senses the presence of voices that seem to come from all directions. They are not merely sounds, but revelations, whispers of awakened consciences, echoes of human decisions, fragments of repentance and courage that materialize as palpable energy. Each sound brings clarity. He realizes that the battle is a mirror of the spiritual and moral world, where true strength resides not only in weapons or numbers, but in integrity, faith, and understanding of divine judgment. He notes that some combatants, both human and celestial, seem to receive sudden enlightenment, flashes of understanding that immediately alter the course of their actions. A gesture of compassion can save thousands. A lapse of faith can condemn entire legions. John understands that the war is not merely external. Every being who participates, consciously or unconsciously, is an agent of destiny, and every action is recorded in the invisible layers of the universe. The consuming fire reveals the true state of the human heart, and each lightning bolt exposes hidden reality. The battle is as internal as it is cosmic. At the height of the confrontation, John perceives a striking phenomenon. The forces of darkness seem to take on a form of their own from human corruption and fear. They feed on wrong choices, impulses of hatred, despair, or selfishness, turning each moral failing into an extension of the army of evil. At the same time, the light is strengthened by courage, faith, and human kindness, as if each virtuous act were an invisible weapon against the darkness. The battlefield, therefore, is not merely a place of confrontation, but a living record of human decisions and how they resonate in the spiritual universe. Trumpets and flashes of light continue to signal decisive events. John observes that each wave of lightning illuminates new aspects of the conflict, revealing previously unseen layers, celestial lines of attack, routes of defense, points of weakness and strength. He perceives that the battle is a demonstration of simultaneous justice and mercy. Not all that is destroyed is lost. Purification brings opportunity for learning and growth. Each spark of light that emerges amidst the chaos symbolizes that mercy still acts even in the instant of destruction, and that judgment is not merely punitive, but instructive. He also notes that certain areas of the battlefield remain inexplicably preserved, as if the energy of light and judgment were balancing the chaos with zones of protection. There, gestures of kindness, acts of faith, and sincere repentance resonate more intensely, creating small strongholds of hope. John realizes that the battle is not a straight line of destruction. It is dynamic, alive, and responds to the morality and spirituality of each being. Every human action, even from a distance, influences the battle in ways he can barely comprehend, revealing the complexity of the divine design. Amidst the explosions of fire and the roars of beasts, he perceives figures of spiritual leadership, angels and entities of light, who coordinate each movement with precision, adjusting attacks and defenses according to human response and the evolution of darkness. John feels reverence as he realizes that divine justice is not merely reaction, but interaction, a complex dance between judgment and the opportunity for redemption. The universe observes and responds to the choices of each soul, and the battle is the stage where this relationship manifests with apocalyptic intensity. As the vision deepens, John senses that each instant of the battle contains multiple levels of meaning, physical, spiritual, and moral. The purifying fire, the revealing lightning, the awakening trumpet, all work in synchronicity, exposing the hidden, correcting deviation, and reinforcing what is eternal. He realizes that the war of Armageddon is not simply about destruction, but about revealing what is true, purifying what is corrupt, and guiding all souls, even at the height of chaos, toward an understanding of divine justice and mercy. At the end of this panorama, John feels a growing clarity. The battle, with all its magnitude, destruction, and terror, is also the most concrete manifestation of divine justice. Light and judgment are not enemies of humankind, but rather instruments that reveal the truth, test faith, and offer the opportunity for alignment with the divine. Each trumpet, each flash of lightning, each wave transformed into fire or blood is a living lesson, a reflection of each soul's responsibility before destiny and eternity. He understands that even in the heart of the apocalypse, mercy and light remain, guiding, purifying, and illuminating the truth of each being. As the last echoes of the Battle of Armageddon fade, John observes a profound silence settle over the earth and sky. The wind still carries the scent of fire and blood, but something new is beginning to emerge. A strange and powerful serenity that seems to fill every space left by the chaos. The red clouds that covered the horizon begin to disperse, revealing threads of golden light that cross the sky like veils of hope. Each ray of light not only illuminates, but transforms the space, creating a palpable sense of rebirth. John feels that he is witnessing not only the end of a war, but the beginning of a cosmic restoration, where justice served gives way to mercy and forgiveness. The sea, which had previously churned as a reflection of the battle, now seems to regain its calm, its gentle waves reflecting the first signs of a purified sky. However, Jerome realizes that tranquility is not merely the absence of conflict. It is the tangible manifestation of the restored balance between creation and divinity, the result of a justice that has fulfilled its purpose. The destroyed cities, burned forests, and devastated lands begin to emit signs of life, as if each act of destruction had been a preparation for the emergence of a purified reality, a world where light and order prevail over chaos. The figures of light that led the celestial armies remain on the horizon, but now no longer as warriors. They move with gentleness and majesty, pouring forth luminous energy that touches every corner of the world. John realizes that the celestial victory is not only over external evil, but over all the darkness that dwells in human hearts and fallen souls. Each ray of light penetrates the depths of consciousness, restoring faith, healing pain, and illuminating the choices that can still be made. He understands that the ultimate purpose of the battle was not simply to punish, but to allow each being to reconnect with the divine, understanding that the momentary destruction was necessary to reveal the true essence of life. As humanity emerges from the shadows of terror, John witnesses scenes of contemplation and reverence. People who had hidden, trembling with fear and despair, now look to the cleared sky with eyes full of awe and gratitude. There are tears, but no longer of despair. They are tears of recognition and renewed faith. He perceives that every heart touched by the terror of battle now carries within it an inner light, a consciousness transformed by the extreme experience. Each soul has the opportunity to align itself with the divine order, to rebuild not only their lives, but the entire reality entrusted to them. The horizon fills with unprecedented colors, auroras that belong to no natural cycle, flames of light that dance above restored cities, and rivers that reflect the sky in colors never before seen. Jerome feels he is witnessing the materialization of the concept of redemption, where purification does not destroy the essence of creation, but enhances it, making it clearer, purer, and closer to what is eternally just. He realizes that victory over evil is marked not only by the elimination of rebellious forces, but by the renewal of the world, by the opening of a space where mercy and faith can flourish. The expanding sky reveals symbols previously hidden by the storm, crosses of light, arcs of energy connecting heaven and earth, and figures reminiscent of promises made to humanity. John understands that these manifestations are not merely aesthetic, but educational and spiritual. Each beam of light teaches about the resilience of faith, the importance of conscious choice, and the need to align human actions with eternal principles. He realizes that the Battle of Armageddon, though violent and terrifying, revealed the possibility of universal redemption, demonstrating that light and mercy prevail when there is alignment with the divine will. As he watches, a sense of spiritual empowerment grows within John. He realizes that the restoration before his eyes is not passive. Humanity is not merely a receiver of light, but an active participant in the process of purification and reconstruction. Every conscious choice, every act of compassion, and every gesture of faith now holds the power to shape the future of the purified world. The ultimate victory is not just the destruction of evil, but an invitation to participate in the creation of a reality that reflects divine justice, mercy, and harmony. The fire that once consumed now transforms into regenerative energy. It no longer destroys, but cleanses and strengthens. Each spark that falls upon the earth becomes a seed of life. Each ember illuminates paths to reconstruction and understanding. John feels that the battle fulfilled its role, not only in terms of the conflict, but as a spiritual lesson. Evil was defeated, not by brute force, but by the demonstration of eternal principles and the opportunity for learning that humanity received. Destruction becomes a catalyst for enlightenment. The air is filled with a silent music, a vibration that John perceives with his whole body and soul. It is the echo of restored harmony, the resonance of a creation that finally aligns with divine justice and mercy. He feels that every human being is called to feel this harmony internally, to reflect on their role in building a world where light not only triumphs but remains present, guiding every future decision. The power of the apocalypse no longer resides in destruction, but in the profound understanding of responsibility, redemption, and the opportunity for renewal. As the apostles and John contemplate the restored glory, they realize that the outcome of the battle is not a static conclusion, but a state of continuous vigilance and learning. Victory does not end the lesson, it transforms the world into a living laboratory of faith, choice, and alignment with the divine. Every soul that breathes in this new heaven and this new earth has the opportunity to continue to manifest light, transforming what has been rebuilt into a permanent temple of divine justice and mercy. The battle revealed that true strength lies not only in the destruction of evil, but in the ability to continuously restore, renew, and illuminate creation. The apostles, witnesses, and messengers of this event understand that their own lives now reflect this redemption. Every decision they make, every teaching they impart, every action they guide will be part of the ongoing rebirth of the world. John realizes that he himself carries within him the testimony of restored glory, the responsibility to translate into words and actions the magnitude of what has been revealed. The power of the apocalyptic experience now transforms into a guiding light for all who will hear its message. As the sky transforms completely, the last vestiges of the storm disappear. Golden rays pierce through dissipating clouds, illuminating the earth with colors that do not belong to the previous world, tones that evoke peace, reverence, and renewal. Every human figure, every being that survived the battle, is bathed in this light, recognizing that even after terror, divine mercy and justice prevail. John understands that the apocalypse is not merely an end-time event, but the starting point for a purified existence, where faith, courage, and justice remain as pillars of reality. The horizon is now filled with symbols of hope, rivers shining with their own light, trees reborn from the ashes, cities rebuilt on foundations of righteousness. He sees humanity contemplating the glory of the divine, absorbing every nuance of the lesson the battle taught. Each soul that participates in the reconstruction receives the power to shape destiny, to manifest eternal principles, and to ensure that the light remains not as a memory of the past, but as a constant and active presence. John feels in every breath, every glance, and every gesture the confirmation that justice and mercy walk hand in hand. He realizes that redemption is a continuous choice, an opportunity to align oneself with the divine in every moment of existence. Victory is not static, it demands attention, awareness, and action. But the fear of the apocalypse no longer dominates. It has been replaced by an active reverence, a motivation to build and maintain the restored balance. The experience of the battle, though terrifying, becomes the foundation of a purified reality, a lesson that transcends generations. As the sun finally rises above the horizon, tinging the sky with soft colors, John realizes that he has witnessed something that transcends time. The divine's ability to transform terror into light, destruction into opportunity, chaos into order. He understands that the true glory of the Battle of Armageddon lies not in the strength of the armies or the magnitude of the conflict, but in the demonstration that even in the most extreme circumstances, justice and mercy not only coexist, but manifest themselves in a way that shapes the destiny of creation. If the final battle were happening now, John invites us to look not only at the armies clashing in the heavens and the abyss, but at the invisible field that extends within each human heart. He challenges us to contemplate the duality of our own souls, the light that seeks truth, faith, and compassion, the darkness that feeds on fear, doubt, and misguided choice. And as the apocalyptic scenario unfolds before our eyes, we are compelled to reflect on how we would react if we were present at the epicenter of this cosmic conflict. The question is not merely theoretical, it forces us to confront our priorities, our values, and the alignment of our actions with divine justice and mercy. The sky, still tinged with red clouds and dazzling lightning, serves as a mirror of humanity's inner state. Each flash of light illuminating the celestial armies and the legions of darkness simultaneously reveals what exists within us: courage, faith, weakness, fear. John shows us that, if we were in this moment, every choice, every thought, and every action would resonate on a cosmic scale, altering not only the unfolding of the visible battle, but also the spiritual balance that sustains the universe. The intimacy of this reality demands that we ask ourselves, would we stand firm in the light, or would we succumb to the darkness that hides within us? As he contemplates the trumpets that awaken consciences and the lightning that reveals the hidden, John challenges us to imagine personal responsibility in the face of the apocalypse. He describes each human act as an invisible contribution to the conflict. A gesture of mercy can ignite flames of hope, while an act of despair or selfishness strengthens the dominion of darkness. At that moment, each spectator is invited to see themselves not as a mere observer, but as an active participant in the outcome, even if their actions seem small or insignificant. The power of choice, John emphasizes, is the most decisive force amidst the chaos, the true weapon that each soul possesses in the battle between light and darkness. The apostles' vision deepens, revealing that the battle is also a lesson about impermanence and consequence. Each ray of light that illuminates the destruction shows that nothing is lost without learning, and each shadow that spreads highlights the weight of moral negligence. John urges us to contemplate, in the face of imminent judgment, how do our lives reflect our deepest values? What decisions are we making now that could strengthen the light, or conversely, fuel the darkness? The question is not only about survival, but about spiritual integrity and moral consistency amidst extreme pressure. The apostles' contemplation is not limited to individual action, it extends to collective responsibility. He observes how communities, cities, and entire nations are reflections of the accumulated choices of each individual. Alignment with the light or surrender to darkness is not merely a personal experience, but a phenomenon that reverberates across layers of spiritual and material reality. John challenges us to imagine, in the face of imminent Armageddon, how our collective participation could alter the destiny of the world. Would we be able to act with courage and compassion, or would we lose ourselves in fear and confusion? The narrative intensifies as he describes the impact of divine judgment as a purifying and revealing force, not as an arbitrary punishment. Each lightning bolt that streaks across the sky, each wave of fire that purifies the land, serves as a metaphor for the opportunity for self-examination. John calls us to reflect on how we would react if we faced this truth head-on. Would we be able to recognize our failings, correct our ways, and align our actions with the divine will? Or would we hide in the illusion of security, unable to confront the reality of our own soul? While the final echoes of the imagined battle reverberate, John emphasizes that light and darkness coexist within every human being, and that true choice is a conscious one. He describes light as a beacon that reveals the path, not an enforcer of destiny. Darkness, in turn, as a constant temptation that challenges courage and faith. The tension of this duality is at the heart of the introspection he proposes, reflecting not only on what we would do in a literal apocalyptic war, but on how we deal with our own internal conflicts, our doubts, and our ethical decisions every day. The Apostle's vision expands to include continuity. Every choice made in the present reverberates in the future, creating invisible waves that shape reality. He challenges us to consider the impact of our actions on time and space. How does aligning with the light or surrendering to darkness today affect the outcome not only of our lives, but also of the collective history of humanity? John suggests that the true battlefield is eternal and invisible, and that the war he witnesses is an amplified reflection of human choices, multiplied and observed by the cosmos. As the reflection deepens, John makes us realize that the final battle, although apocalyptic and terrifying, contains a unique opportunity, the chance to understand the responsibility and power that each soul possesses. He describes victory not as mere destruction of evil, but as a result of conscious faith, moral courage, and commitment to eternal principles. Each viewer is invited to see themselves in this context, not only as an observer of a catastrophic event, but as an agent of spiritual transformation, capable of influencing the course of divine justice and mercy. The Apostle's images surround us with symbolism: the purifying fire, the lightning that reveals, the trumpets that awaken consciences, and the light that guides the righteous. Each element of the battle is both literal and metaphorical, reflecting the inner struggle of every human being. John challenges us to consider, if the final battle were taking place now, what choices would we illuminate with our faith? What actions would we take to resist the darkness that dwells both outside and within us? The question is not merely hypothetical, but an invitation to deep introspection. As the vision approaches its emotional climax, John emphasizes the continuity of reflection. The battle does not end with the visible apocalypse, but continues as a constant spiritual challenge. He suggests that every act of courage, every gesture of kindness, every ethical decision contributes to the victory of light over darkness on levels that transcend the perceptible. The tension between fear and faith, darkness and light, remains active, calling upon each viewer to take responsibility for their own spiritual alignment. Finally, John leaves us with the unease and questioning that should persist. If we were facing the final battle, how would we react to the light and the darkness? Each person is called to confront their own choices, their values, and their ability to remain steadfast in faith even in the face of the apocalypse. He challenges us to contemplate not only terror or destruction, but the opportunity for redemption and alignment with eternal principles, reminding us that the true battle is continuous, internal, and cosmic, and that each soul has a decisive role in the outcome. In the context of this invitation to reflection, John also suggests that concrete action should not be delayed. If the light of faith and understanding still shines in our hearts, we must strengthen it, act with courage, and make choices that elevate not only our lives, but also the spiritual balance of humanity. He reminds us that the apocalyptic battle is a mirror of individual and collective responsibility, and that introspection should lead to action. Every conscious gesture is a step towards the victory of light. As long as the apostles' vision remains, we feel the weight of responsibility and the opportunity for transformation. The question that haunts us: how would we react in the face of the final battle, in the face of light and darkness, is not merely rhetoric, but a call to constant spiritual vigilance. John challenges us to remain attentive, to cultivate faith, to practice compassion, and to align every action with divine purpose, remembering that the true battle is eternal, and that our response to it shapes the present and the future. And finally, John invites us to reflect on the legacy of our choices, how each individual decision contributes to the unfolding of collective destiny, how each act of faith or doubt influences the harmony between light and darkness, and how each moment of courage or hesitation echoes in the spiritual realms. The final question that haunts us must remain alive. Faced with the apocalypse, with judgment and revelation, how would we react? Our response is the mirror of the soul, and the universe observes with silent and unwavering attention. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel to continue receiving stories and prophecies like this one. And don't forget to comment on which part caught your attention the most and strengthened your faith.